moving right along here. After the exercise that Kamna just took you through about kind of reflecting on the pieces of art, we're going to talk a little bit now about how you can potentially draw some of the lessons from that exercise to how you're going to select and then rank your applicants when it comes to interviews. And a big way that we're going to really focus on this effort is by predefining merit. All right, so different piece of artwork here. In 2005, Ullman carried out this study about hiring preferences, and we can think about resident selection as analogous to corporate hiring practices. So for one portion of this study, what they did was they had participants review applications for this quote-unquote traditionally male job of police chief. They created 2 applications for this police chief role. Each application had a description of the applicant's characteristics. One application was describing a candidate who was streetwise. The other application was describing a second candidate who was book smart. The researchers then randomly assigned names to each of these applications. Half were given the traditionally male name of Michael, and the other half were given the traditionally female name of Michelle. Participants were then asked to determine which candidate was most hireable for this traditionally male job of police chief. Unsurprisingly, the experiment showed that participants had strong preference for hiring the man, Michael, or the presumed man, Michael, for this role of police chief. But when the researchers asked the participants why they preferred Michael for the job of police chief, it all depended on which name he had been randomly assigned to of the 2 different applications. When Michael was assigned to the street smart applicant, the participants said, police chief's got to be street smart. That's the only way to be successful. When Michael's name was randomly assigned to the book smart applicant, well, sure, you got to have an intelligent, book smart person to run your police department. So it didn't really matter what the characteristics of the applicant was. Michelle, sorry, Dr. Dorfman, never had a chance. It was going to be Michael all the way through, regardless of if he was streetwise or book smart. But then the researchers did what you would expect them to do in this experiment, right? They required the participants to articulate the requirements for the job of police chief before they had a chance to review the applications and see the name that was associated with the street smart or the book smart application. And by simply committing to hiring criteria before the review of the application, that gender disparity that we just discussed went away completely. So this study really gave good evidence in a very clever study design to the construction of predefining merit, predefining those criteria that we are seeking for a job, in this case, resident. So to this end, we'll talk a little bit about what we do at Hopkins for this. Our education group at Hopkins, for the last couple of years now, convenes our group of interviewers and stakeholders that we had already, kind of discussed a few minutes ago, to define the most important characteristics that we seek in our future residents. We come up with this list, and this here is the list that we came up with for last year's application cycle. We haven't yet reconvened the group to choose or to edit this list at all for the upcoming application cycle like we do annually. Obviously, what we are seeking, the merits that we are hoping to find in our applicants, may not be the same list as yours, right? But the more important take-home from this is not necessarily what the characteristics are, it's more defining what they are in advance and getting your stakeholders, your team, your interviewers, your file reviewers to be looking for those merits in your applicants as you're going through file review and preparing for interviews. So we're going to give you another couple of minutes here, and this because we were expecting a bigger group today, but because we're a smaller group, we're we're going to give you a couple minutes to kind of think about what are a few of the characteristics that maybe you would like to see in your future residents. And rather than have you do them individually, quietly, let's just do it as a group. Go ahead and shout out a couple of things that you would value as being a high priority for your potential residents in your applicant review. Honesty. Work ethic, yep. Teachable, excellent. I'm sorry, vulnerable, okay, I like it. Humor, yeah. Yep, has faced and potentially overcome adversity, yep. Yeah, yeah. Yep. Yeah, those big vision people. How about one more? Yeah, responsible for sure. Yeah, I agree with all of those, right? And you may agree with all of them as well, but prioritize and rank them differently on your kind of desirability scale. But having that conversation with your stakeholders, with your team, and then coming up with a list, and we'll talk about what to do with those merits that you've identified here in a little bit, is, we think, a key feature of reviewing your applicants.